Okay. Good morning, team. Is my screen is visible to everyone? Yes. Okay. So we'll start our Capstone Prep 1 Part 2 session. So yesterday we have this Capstone Prep 1 Part 1. In that we have studied like so many studies like feasibility study, the SDLC methodologies, business case document, and the timesheets. All those things we have learned yesterday, right? And today in this sessions we are going to in this part 2 we are going to learn many questions here again. Okay, it is a similar case study yesterday, whatever the case study we have discussed. So the similar case study will be given. So on that only we have this part 2. Okay, let's go ahead with the part 2 now. Okay, so we'll just have a look on this guidelines of the session. So all your questions will be answered once the session will be completed, and the participants are requested to message your doubts in the chat box only. And the session I'm going to record it, and it will be updated in the COEPD YouTube channel. Okay, after 12 p.m. you can see this recording in the COEPD YouTube channel. Okay, so yesterday what we have the case study. So I'll just give you a brief about the case study again. So Mr. Anthony, who is a prosperous NRI, he has the idea to develop a website which is devoted to fashion with a focus on high-end apparel and accessories. And he has collaborated on the application with Mr. Bhaskar and Mr. Kathy and with all his colleagues. So here he is going to build an application, so which Mr. Kathy has already had a similar application as the sales are drastically declining. So Mr. Anthony had taken on the duty to improving the application again. Okay, so here we are going to build an application with a timeline of 18 months and the budget will be 1 crore. Okay, so these are the resources who will be working on the project. These are the resources people. And when we decode the case study, so the project idea is like here we are going to build an application to develop a website devoted to fashion with a focus on high-end apparel and accessories. And the current page is like it should be easy to navigate and it should have a contemporary look, and it should have the process payments quickly. And when it comes to the overview of the project, it is an e-commerce based project where there is an existing application is already present, but the current project would like to have the input from the current one and work on the new one. And the current problems is like, as there is a declining of sales and non-user friendly, so unable to handle the application well. Also here we have the competition, right? So that's why here we are going to build an application again which will be facilitating the customers to buy all the fashion related products. So in this part two, we have these questions like first of all, first question will be like create 5 quarterly audits for this project. So for every project, there will be a audits in the project, right? So in the audits, so how will these audits will happen for a BA? The question you will be getting in this part is like how will this audits will happen for a BA? That thing you have to write it actually. So here you have to make 5 quarterly audits for this project. So here as you can see, I've given the direct answer here. Like in the first quarter, requirement gathering phase. Let's assume that first of all the BA will be working on the requirement gathering phase. So in that, what kind of audit can be happen? So let's assume that it is happening. It is a very early stage, initial stages of the project that we are going to require gather the requirements. So week 1 to week 10, so time is like from week 1 to week 10, what all the checklist will be happen, like what all the audits will be happen on this, like BRD template, elicitation results report, duplicate requirements report, grouping of functionalities or features, client sign off, and then email communication to CC and BCC. So these are the actual checklist where the audit can be happen for a BA in the quarter 1. And when it comes to the quarter 2, in that we have the requirement analysis phase. So in the requirement analysis, it can be done from 16 to 23rd week. And the checklist is like UML diagrams, business to functional requirements mapping, and client sign off documents, RTM document version control, and email communication to CC and BCC. Okay. And then in the quarter 3, design part. So in the design part, what kind of audit will happen is like utilization of tools, documented evidence on client communication, and the stakeholder minutes of meeting, and then email communication to CC and BCC. Okay, so like this, you have to think in this perspective, like in the requirement gathering and in the requirement analysis and in the design and the testing and the deployment part. So how will this audits will happen for a BA? So according to that only you have to write the answer actually. Oh, so here this is a continuation of the audit reports only. So fourth is like the development. So in the development, the audit can be happened on JAD session report and end user manual preparation document and BA and developer minutes of meeting and then email communication to CC and BCC. And the fifth one is like testing. In the testing can be happened on 58th to 78th week, and the checklist will be like test case summary, training report to end user, training report to end user, and lesson learned document, and email communication to CC and BCC. So these all are the audits which can happen for a BA. Okay. Next. So next question is like BA approach strategy. So in BA approach strategy, you'll be getting this kind of questions like what illustration techniques you should apply to this project, and how to do the stakeholder analysis, and what documents you have to write, and what process to follow on the sign off on the documents, and how to take approval from the client, what communication channels to establish and implement, and how to handle the change request. So for that you'll be getting this kind of question in the BA approach strategy. These all will comes under the BA strategies only. So when it comes to the first part, like what illustration techniques you should apply here, in the sense, as we all know, we have many illustration techniques to apply, which is used to gather the requirements. So some of them will like brainstorming, document analysis, reverse engineering, focus groups, observation. So these are all things you have to write a small definition of it. Okay, so illustration techniques, as we all know, we have like 10 to 11 illustration techniques we have. So you can write some of them according to this project. You have to think like some of them, the illustration techniques which will be um, applied to this project. That thing you have to think it, and you have to write a little definition of it. And how to do the stakeholder analysis through RACI. So we all know that stakeholder analysis can be done through a RACI matrix, like who will be the responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. So the stakeholder analysis can be conducted by using the RACI matrix, which involves the identifying the stakeholders, and it will define their roles and responsibilities within a project. Okay, so whatever the roles and responsibilities has been assigned to the resources in the project, so according to that we'll be doing this RACI matrix, and here we are going to identify the stakeholders, and we are defining the roles and responsibilities, and here we are creating the RACI matrix, and we are assigning the RACI roles. Okay, this is nothing but identifying and defining and creating and then assigning role. Okay, and what documents we have to write it. So the documents like BRD, FRD, use case documentation, test case documents, and etc. So according to this project we have to write these documents. Next, what process to follow to sign off on the documents. So sign off can be done on SRS, as it is a primary and important document. So sign off can be done by taking an email confirmation from the client. Okay, and then how to take approval from the client. As we all know, we can establish a formal meeting with the client to keep them informed, and to get a continuous feedback about the further process and all. So we'll be taking a formal meeting with the client to take an approval from him. And what communication channels to establish and implement. So regular meetings, same. So the regular meetings can be conducted to communicate with the stakeholders and the employees with the within the project, like weekly status meeting, bi-weekly sprint reviews, and monthly stakeholder updates. So whatever the updates so far you have done on the project, you can be update to your team members or to the client through conducting a regular meetings with them. And how to handle the change request. So once you will be getting a change request in any project, so first of all you will be having a change request form, and then they will be filling all the change request details, and then you will be doing an impact analysis, like how far is the change request will be good to this project, whether you have to check it, like whether is it a benefit to the project or not. So like that you have to do the impact analysis, how this change request is going to impact to the project. And then after doing the impact analysis, you will be taking an approval with your project manager that this change request has been arrived and what we have to do with this change request. So you will be taking an approval from him, and then you will be documenting whatever the change request you have made so far in the project. Okay. And how to update the progress of the project to the stakeholders. So same by weekly status reports and monthly review meetings. Through the reports or through meetings, you can update the progress of the project to the stakeholders. And how to take a sign off on the UAT, client project acceptance form. So UAT, how to take sign off from the UAT is like, first of all, you'll be preparing a UAT preparation, and then conduct UAT, fix the issues if any has in the project, and then acceptance form will be there, and then final review meeting, and then opt in sign off. This is a process of the UAT, so which you have to follow in this method, and then you can write it in this way. So in the second question, you will be getting all this kind, these all are the strategies we'll be calling it. So in that question, we have to write these all questions will be same, the questions will be same there. So answers also, the answers also will be same. So according to the project, you just have to think what illustration techniques you should apply, and what will be the roles and responsibilities to the resources. That thing you just have to think it, and you have to map it and write it. Next, third question will be based on three-tier architecture. So three-tier architecture is like, first of all, we'll be having the three-tier architecture. So first is like the client tier, and then business logic tier, and then the database tier. So as we all know, this three-tier architecture, this application has been divided into three logical layers. So first is like application layer. So it is a topmost layer of the architecture. We can also call it as a presentation layer. So it will handle the user interface components such as screens and pages. Okay. And example for this is like e-commerce website. And when it comes to the business logic layer, as it is a middle layer of the architecture, it will act as an intermediary between the presentation layer and the data storage layer. So the business logic layer, in the name itself, it is there, it is consisting of a core logic of the application. So it is a middle layer of the architecture, as it is containing the core logic of the application. So we can call it as a business logic layer. And the example of this is like printer and payment gateways. Okay. And then when it comes to the database layer is like it is a bottom layer of the architecture, and it is responsible for storing and retrieving the data. So as in the name itself, it is there like it is a database layer. So we can remember like it is responsible for storing and retrieving the data. Example, you can write the database servers like MySQL, Oracle database. So these are all things you can write it in the examples. So in the evaluation, just try to give with some little examples like how this application business and database layer is there. So just try to give some examples into the evaluator, then it will be looks good to the project. Next, fourth question is like, write about the approach strategy for framing the questions. So fourth question is like, here you have to frame a questions to ask to the stakeholders. So whenever a stakeholder will be coming to the project, right? So there you'll be answering all the questions, whatever the doubts you will be having according to the project, that all the questions you will be asking them. So how to frame the questions is like, we have the framework called 5W1H. So it is a useful tool for gathering the information and understanding a situation by answering questions like who, what, when, where, why, and how. So this is the approach strategy where you will be framing the questions to ask to the clients. And the smart technique can be help in creating the questions. These all are the approach strategy for framing the questions only. So the smart technique is like the SMART. S will stands for specific, M stands for measurable, A stands for attainable, R stands for relevant, and T stands for time bound. So whatever the goals it is there for the project, so the goals and the objectives should be specific, and it should be measurable, and it should be attainable, and it should be relevant to the project, and it should be time bound, like can we able to complete the project within the time bound or not. So these all are the techniques. Like a smart is a technique where it will help to create a question to the stakeholders. So in this way you can ask them the questions. And RACI charts will help to define and clarify the roles and responsibilities within a team by outlining who is responsible, who is accountable, who is consultant, and who is informed for each task. Okay, so this is a racy chart where you'll be outlining like who will be the responsible, accountable, and consulted and informed for the each and every task within the project. And next is like UML is nothing but unified modeling language. So it is a standardized way of diagramming and modeling software systems to aid in design development and communication between the team members. Next, so fifth question and sixth question will be comes under the same criteria. So here, what you have to do is like write about the various illustration techniques you have learned in the workshop. So in the theory classes, what kind of illustration techniques you have learned, that all things you have to write it. So next question is like which illustration techniques will you use in this project? Justify your opinion. So first of all, for the fifth and sixth question, you do one thing, you can directly in the fifth question you can write all the illustration techniques whatever we have, like the brainstorming, document analysis, reverse engineering, focus groups, observation, workshops, JAD, interview, prototype, questionnaire, and use case specs. So all these techniques you can write it in the fifth question. And in the sixth question you just have to think like what illustration techniques we can be used in this project, which will be suits good to this project. That thing you have to write it in two to three illustration techniques you can write it for the sixth question. And you have to give a reason like why you have chosen this illustration techniques for this project. Okay. And seventh question, so seventh question is like write it in business requirements. So what is mean by the business requirement? First, so business requirement are the specific need or condition that a business must meet to achieve its objectives. So it is a specific need or a condition, it is a high level requirements. Business requirement, will be calling it as a high level requirement, where we'll be doing the specific needs or the condition that a business or a project must meet to achieve its objectives. These are the some of the examples I have given here. Like business requirement one is user should be able to search products in the app. User should be able to browse through the product catalog. User should need to create their login ID and password. And if the user is a new one, then he should create the login ID and the password first. First, it means like he has to register first in order to log in. So these all are the business requirements. So when you are building an application, you'll be getting so many ideas. So once you'll be getting a project, so where you'll be having so many ideas like what will be the business requirement, what is a very important high level requirement is there in the application. That thing you just have to think it. Let's example, if we can take like Amazon or a Flipkart application only. Okay, so when you will be opening the application, so first of all what you will be doing, so you will be registering in order to log in, right? So first of all, the user should be able to register in the application, and then he will be logging in whenever he wants to log in. And once I'll be opening this application, I should able to search whatever the products I want, right? So such a functionality it should there. So these all will comes under the business requirements only. So when you open the application, you will be checking the add to cart, and you'll be doing the payment part. So these all things will comes under the business requirement only. Okay, so you have to think like when you open the application, what will be the business requirements on that thing. You have to think it according to the application and you have to write it. Okay, and next is like write for assumptions based on the project. So assumption one is like a user can log in using Facebook or Google account. So assumption one is like a user can able to log in using Facebook or Google account. It is like, so for every project we should assume like what possibilities should be there to the user. So that thing also a BA should able to think like what all the assumptions can be made according to the project. That thing also we have to write it actually. So here we are going to build an application, right? So in the app only he'll be logging in. So without the app, can a user can be able to log in through the Facebook or Google account? And we might think that his user has the knowledge on the fashion technology, and we might think that as the online shopping trend is increasing, so the customer will prefer only online shopping. And the designers have designs to display in the application, the need for the application is ever growing. And then the customer have online accounts for secured payment processing. So these all are the assumptions. So according to the project, what can be the assumptions? That thing you have to think it and you have to write it. And next is like the project requirements priority. Next question is like project requirements priority. So here I'll just give you one hint, like whatever the business requirement you have gathered. Okay, so whatever the business requirement you have gathered here, so the same requirements only you can take it for the project requirement priority. And here the difference is like here you'll be adding a priority. Okay, which is a high one and which is a low one, that thing you have to give a numbering here. So the requirement, the priority you will be giving if it is regarding the login. Okay, so user should create a login, so it is a first priority, so then I can give a one number here. And if it is a low, last if it is not an important thing but it should be there in the application, then I can give a high number like 9 or 10, like that. So take the business requirements only, whatever the business requirements you have collected, same requirements you can use it for the project requirement priority and give a numbering to that requirements. Okay, and next is like a very important one. Here you have to prepare a use case diagram. So first of all, in order to learn what is a use case, in order to draw the use case diagram, first of all one should know what is meant by the use case diagram. So use case diagram is nothing but it is an interaction between the user and the system. So who will be the using the application, the user and the system, what is the interaction between them is nothing but a use case diagram. We have to show it in a visual representation with the help of use case. So I'll just explain you the use case diagram, how you have to write it, how you have to draw it in the MS Visio tool. So the use case diagram, whatever you will be preparing, so for this use case you have to draw this diagram through the help of MS Visio tool only. Okay, so once you'll be in the nurturing process, the COEPD team will help you in installing the tools, which is like the MS Visio, Balsamic, and Azure. So these three tools, the COEPD team will be helping you in installing the part. And after installing, when you will be dealing with the Capstone 1 project, in that you'll be, this is a part 2, right? So in the part 2, you will be doing this use case diagram and activity diagram. So for that purpose, you have to use MS Visio only. The students who will be using Windows laptops and all, so they can use this MS Visio. Or if somebody will be using MacBook and all, so for them, if this MS Visio, Balsamic, and Azure will not be installed, so those people can be accessed through draw.io. It is a website, it is also an application actually, so where same features will be there, whatever the MS Visio features will be there, so in the same features will be there in the draw.io. So for them you can install draw.io in your laptop, those who will be using the MacBook. Okay, so well, let's get into this use case diagram first. How you have to draw is like, so as it is an interaction between the user and the system, so first of all, so first of all, the user, first of all, make a system boundary. Okay, this is a system boundary where you can see. So this is a system boundary, and then take one use case. So first of all, instead of making so many actors in the use case diagram, just give two actors. Like one is a primary actor and one is a secondary actor. Okay, so the primary actor will be the user who will be using the application. It is a customer, you, he'll be the primary actor, and the secondary actor can be like the system database. Okay, so I'll just give you this example in a simple way to understand clearly. So first of all, as a user, what I will be doing in the application, so first of all I will be registering in the application. So first use case will be the registration. So registration is a essential use case. So registration, the particular feature will be calling it as a essential use case. And for registration, what all the fields are mandatory. So as a user, when I will be using the application, what all the fields are mandatory, like name, mobile number, email ID. These all things are mandatory to register in the application. Okay, so this name, mobile number, email ID, we will be calling it as a supporting use case. Registration is a essential, and whereas the supporting will be name, mobile number, and email ID will be the supporting use case. After registering, what I will be doing? I will be logging into the platform, right? So for login, what kind of fields are mandatory? Like ID and the password is mandatory to login. So if I want to log into the application, I should have the login ID and the password. Okay, so in this use case diagram, we should aware about three relationships called include, extend, and generalization. Okay, so wherever an important feature, so use case diagram, in the use case diagram, the registration is there. So for registering, name, mobile number, email ID, these all are the important thing which you cannot skip it, right? So here there you have to give a relationship called include. Okay, and when it comes to the login, ID and password should be there to log in into the application, so that is also include. What is extend in this is like forget password. Okay, when you will be logging in the application, you'll be having another feature called forget password. Okay, so that thing you can give it as an extend. Okay, to build an application, here you're representing this diagram to the technical team, so they should able to understand what you are trying to tell them. So that thing you have to prepare through a use case diagram for them to understand clearly. You'll be drawing this use case diagram for the testing team. Okay, so whoever will be the developing the application, the software team, they should be able to understand what you're trying to tell them through a diagram. So first of all, a user will be registering, and then he'll be logging in, and then he will be searching for the products. So for the products, you can write what kind of fashion related products you can search. That thing you can write it in the supporting use case, and then whatever the products you have searched, you can add it to the cart. So add to the cart will be the next use case, and after that payment. After adding it to the cart, you'll be going to the checkout. So checkout, in the sense, there you'll be having the payment part. So in the payment, as we all know, in the applications we have many modes of payments like UPI, COD, cash on credit card and debit card, or NEFT. As we all know, we have many modes of payment to make a payment, right? So these what kind of relationship we should give it to the payment part is like, we should give generalization. Why? Because include we have used for mandatory thing, which is for the registration and login, and extend you will be using for the forget password. Maybe or may not be will comes under the extend. Important is include, maybe or may not be the extend. Generalization is nothing but it is a kind of where a user can able to do at least one mode of payment, and then only he can move forward. Okay, so here as a user, I know I have many modes of payment to do the payment part, but I will be only selecting only one, right? So I can select any one, like cash on delivery I can select through, I can select UPI, I can select a debit card or a credit card. So these things I can select any one only, I'll be selecting, right? So for that purpose, it is a kind of, so that's why we are giving generalization relationship there. So when you will be using the use case diagram, when we will be using the MS Visio tool to draw the use case diagram, there you will be having this relationships called arrows. So through the arrows, you have to show it. Include is mandatory, extend is maybe or may not be. It is an optional. Generalization is a kind of. Okay, so for the payment part, you will be using the generalization. Okay, this is how you have to show it to the use case diagram actually. After doing the payment part, you can add a delivery option also, or else you can skip it. Just take five features. One is registration, one is login, one is search products, one is add to the cart, and fifth one is payment, making a payment. So these are the five features which you have to make a use case diagram. In the application, how you will be using, so that thing you have to show it through a diagram. Okay. Next. So next is like prepare for use case specification document. So use case diagram is, it is a representation of the interaction between the user and the system, whereas use case specification is like whatever the features we took in the use case diagram, like registration, login, search, add to cart, and payment. So for these all features we have to write a specification document. Okay, so a use case specification, it is a document which provides a detailed description of the use case. So use cases we already know, we already draw it in the use case diagram. So whatever the features we took in the use case diagram, so the same features only you can take it for the use case specification document. So in your use case specification document, the mandatory fields is like, this is a sample template I have given here. Like first of all, give a use case ID, use case 001, and name of the use case is like here I took like booking an appointment with a fashion designer, and then you can write created by date created, last updated, last version date, and actors who will be involving in this actor like the customer and a designer, and a description what is this use case feature will talks about, like this use case describes how the user can able to book an appointment in the application. And what is the precondition? User should have been registered into the application. And post condition you have to write it. Post condition is nothing but whatever the feature you took. So here you are going to booking an appointment. So successfully received a confirmation of the appointment. Successfully booked an appointment with the fashion designer is a post condition. And then write the basic flow. So what is a basic flow for this is like, first of all, you when you'll be logging into the application. So here there you'll be having the appointment, booking an appointment option will be there. Click on the booking appointment option, and then user will be logs in. Second step is like user should be logged in and then clicks on the appointment, and then system will navigate to a new page where the user should enter the some information, whatever the information he wants to enter with the fashion designer. So and so fashion designer only he should have for the appointment details he'll be giving it. And then the system will be navigating it to the page where it displays the multiple options to select. So in this way you have to write each and every step in a detailed way. So make sure the basic flow whatever you'll be giving in the use case specification document should be a very detailed way. And alternate flow also you have to write it. So if the user is not able to log into the application, what is the step he'll be doing? So that thing also you have to write it. So as a BA, you know the basic flow, so you should also know the alternate flow in order to do the task completely. So we know the basic flow like so and so steps will be there you will be performing, and what will be the alternate flow is like if he is not able to log in, what you will be doing. So he'll be resetting your password again, right? If you're not able to log in and if you have forgot your password, in the sense you will be resetting your password in the registration page, and then you'll be entering it again in the page again, login page again. And any exceptions is there for this feature, that also you have to write it. And frequency of use, is it an important one or not, is a high one or low one, that thing also you have to write. And you have to write the assumptions, what can be the assumptions to this use case specification. So this is a sample template where you have to write the detailed documentation on this use cases. Okay, like this you have to prepare 5 use cases, same whatever the features you have took in the use case diagram, like registration, login, search for the product, add to cart, and payment. Same features you can take it for the use case specification also. Okay, and then next question is like prepare 5 activity diagrams. So activity diagram is nothing but, so an activity diagram is a type of diagram in the unified modeling language that will visually represents the flow of activities within a system. Okay, so use case diagram, in the use case diagram it is an interaction between the user and the system, whereas in the activity it will represent the flow of activities what is happening within a system is nothing but a activity diagram. So make sure in the use case you have to show through a relationships. Okay, with the help of relationships you'll be using like include, extend, and generalization. Whereas in the activity diagram you have to show with the conditions called guard condition, branch and merge, fork and join. So these all are the conditions which you have to show it in the activity diagram. Okay, so as you can see here, so this is an activity diagram, so where payment processing has been done here. So via debit card and via UPI he will be doing here. And if the payment is successfully done, he will be moving it to the next step. Or if the payment has been failed, then he has to go again to the payment part, and then he has to enter the correct details, and then only he can move forward. So you have to show the both conditions, the flow, basic flow you have to show, and the alternate flow also you have to show. So invalid, if it is invalid, you have to show it actually, whether if the payment details has been entered incorrect, then you have to use these symbols, like the arrow symbols will be there in the activity diagram. This activity diagram also you have to make it in the MS Visio tool only. Okay, so here you have to prepare 5 activity diagrams. It's like student user registration, same whatever I told in the use case diagram only, that thing only it is there. registration, search for the product, add product to the cart, making a payment, and delivery. So same features only you can use for the use case, use case specification, and activity diagram. Okay, so here you have to show with the conditions. What condition can be applied in the activity diagram, you have to show it. Okay, so this is all about the prep 1 part 2. So will be having another part in the prep 1 part 3. So in the prep 1 part 3, we have some more questions like the project closure document, the UAT process, and all those things. So this is a prep 1 part 2. So if you have any doubts regarding this prep 1 part 2, please text me in the text box. I'll clarify all your doubts.